Hey everybody, BarrenDome here. Usually when I do kind of my videos, I show a lot of like my builds or other people's builds, but I've never really shown much of my some of my redstone contraptions. And I thought I'd show you one of them right now. During the last dupe, I duped a lot of stuff. It was the crafting dupe, so there's a lot of stacking going on. One thing I never got around to duping was concrete and concrete powder. I kind of missed out on that. Luckily, I got a lot of sand and gravel and a bone meal, so I can make tons and tons of white concrete powder. The problem is a build I need to do requires a lot of black concrete. So I need a way to transform the powder, the white powder, into black powder. And in case you don't know that, you actually can do that. You can change falling entity colors, like sand to red sand or red sand to white sand. And all concrete powder, you can change to any color as long as you have that color already. And I have a machine. It's actually on the left side that changes the colors, the concrete powder for me to any color I want. And then the right side, I take that powder and then I can make it into the concrete blocks when I apply water to it. And this whole process I could do completely automated. Let me show you what I've got. So I like to call this my concrete factory. So on this side is where I get to change any type of concrete powder into any color I want, any of these 16 different available colors. And this is the area that changes the powder into the actual concrete block itself through just touching the water. But we're going to start over here first just to show you the color changer. So this whole design is based off a build by Emerald Fire, and I'm going to leave a link down below. This is not a build video. This is just me showing what I built and the changes I made to Emerald Fire's build, where I can AFK it. So it's pretty sweet. So the whole thing he has here is he's got a button. You press this button and it can change to any of the different 16 colors, and it cycles through them. So they just keep going around and around. And then I'm going to place the block that I want to change here, and it will become whatever color this is right here. So let me show you what that means. So first we need to change the color, and I want to go to black. Okay, so we have black in the position. So now what I need to do is fill the dispenser. So this is all white concrete powder. So if you saw Emerald Fire's build, he's got this whole thing built except for this dropper and this hopper right here. And I added this right here. So every time that I place a block in this position, it's going to complete the circuit which powers this redstone line, which powers this dropper right here. And every time I place one concrete powder block down, it will spit one back at me. So it's a one-for-one swap. I don't need to worry about any loss here, the shooting off if I lose anything. It's just a one-for-one swap, so it's pretty sweet. So I'm going to put this here. It's going to start emptying into the dropper right there. Now what's going to happen is when the sand falls, or actually when the concrete powder falls, it's going to change its color entity with the black. It's going to drop on this half slab, which is going to then break it, and it's going to go into that dropper, and we need an empty shulker to collect it. So really all to get this started is I just need one to start off. So all I have to do right here, if you have a regular vanilla client, you could do the change your controls. You could change the right click to an enter key, and you could place a book down on your enter key. I'm using the future client, so I could use fast place with the auto place enabled. So all I have to do right here is I can either hold down my right click or change the button or enable fast place. But as I do this, so I don't know if you saw, it's pretty quick. So I'm going to drop one there. This powder is going to fall. It's going to change colors with this one, and then it's going to break off here and go into that box. See how it's already there? And then I'm going to get another one dropped right on me. See how it went right there? I know it goes pretty quick. And you can pretty much AFK this. You could do a whole shulker, change whatever one shulker you have into a whole nother shulker. I mean, if you've got several accounts, you could have just one account just doing nothing but changing colors. And just like that, I've got 25 black concrete powder. Okay, so say you've got that done. You've got your shulker full of concrete powder. I think I have one already done. Yep, this one right here. So this is all concrete powder. We need to make it into the concrete blocks now. So what I'm going to do is right up on top of there is a dropper. Dropper is going to feed behind here to this sorry, there's hoppers back there to this dropper. And they're feeding it in right to here. Let me get a couple extras and put it in there just to make this a little quicker. So what's going to happen is I'm going to start off with a couple. This one you actually have to do in your offhand. So I'm going to right click to place the concrete powder here. Because it's touching water, it's going to turn into a solid concrete block. And at the same time, I'm going to hold left click. So you're holding left click and right click to place and break at the same time. And every time you place a block, the observer is going to detect it. There's a redstone line behind here, which is going to power this dropper, which is going to spit out one other powder to me. So it's a 1-for-1 swap. Actually, it's going to be a 1-for-2 because this is going to detect every time I place one. And then it detects every time I place one, every time it changes, and every time I break it. So this is actually 3, but I've noticed that because of the speed, it only is able to do 2 at a time. So usually what will happen is I'll start placing and breaking, and I'll end up with a couple more. So you see how I've got 7 in my hand. I'll end up with a couple more at the end of the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep raking them. The hopper is going to pick them up, and then it's going to go into the shulker box right here. So let me show you what I mean. Let's get a couple more. So I'm going to stand right here. I'm going to right click. It placed it in, turned it into a solid concrete block. You heard the click, and it gave me an extra one. And now I'm going to hold left click. So you see, I'm going back and forth, placing blocks, breaking them. And you can hear the dropper at the same time continually spitting out blocks. I mean, you can actually see the counter at the bottom of my offhand that it's swapping between 36, 37, 38, depending on how many it drops. Now, if you're using the future client, you can enable the fast place, which will put the block down, and then you can enable auto mine. So that way it'll break it and place it and just keeps going back and forth. And like I was saying before, this is almost completely automated. The only thing I've ever noticed really is that sometimes it does not detect the right click, where it'll attempt to break the obsidian behind me before it tries to place the concrete powder. It happens, but it's not that big of a deal. And as you can see here, the dropper is just continually feeding me more concrete powder. Oh, see, I'm up to 39.40 now. So see, it gives you a couple extras every now and then. And then here's all my black concrete. So if you need to make a lot of different color concrete powder, I recommend building this machine. I know a lot of you may not have a lot of resources to get the different color of concrete powder, but if you've got a skeleton grinder and you can get that, the bone meal, you can make tons and tons of white concrete powder that you can turn into any color you need. You know, just for a little AFKing. I mean, you could get 2 accounts here at the same time, AFK, one making powder, the other making the blocks, and it would go really quick. I mean, once I got the routine going, I was cranking them out in a whole shulker in less than 30 minutes. I mean, I wasn't able to dupe it, but you know, you can't dupe everything on 2B2T. Sometimes you've actually got to make some stuff. So if you guys want to learn how to make this machine, I recommend going to Emerald Fod's video. He does a good job of showing how to build it. The other one to make it actually into the concrete blocks is actually pretty simple. It's just the observer. There's a piece of redstone right behind it, 2 of the droppers, and I mean, you can see the rest of it. I only added the shulker box and the hopper line just to make it more AFKable, so I don't have to just have a couple or just the 9 that's in the dropper. You know, I could add a whole line, and it would actually add a lot more resources, and you could AFK for a lot longer than you really would need to. But I like the 1-for-1 kind of swap with the shulker boxes. You know, you empty one shulker, you get another one of the color you want. You get the color you want, and then you make it into the blocks you want. So that way I'm not losing any. I think it's a very neat little process I got going on here. So if you guys have any questions on how I built this or anything about doing the concrete powder, changing the colors, just leave me a message below. And once again, I want to thank you guys again for watching my videos, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya.